Hi there, guys. God bless each and every one of you. You and yours. Well, didn't take him too long, did it? The new CEO of the World Demonic that resistance to the WEF means certain death. Okay, we've been reporting on him a few days ago, did we not? And his particular appointment and how terrifying and scary that is. This is the WEF tyrant Larry Fink, the transgender enforcer. And this is the guy who literally is a satanic social engineer. Okay, so we discussed BlackRock before. Larry Fink, he's known for his behavioral psychology to adapt to homo Marxism. He's the inventor also of the ESG score, which he now calls collective capitalism. Okay, he's also been known over the last sort of few years, literally turning around and quoting, "We force people to change their behaviors." So we're going to be looking at this from a couple of angles, guys. First, going to be looking at the article in question. Larry Fink warns resistance to the WEF means certain death. Also, what else he's been, and then going to be looking at some other things relating to this. But let's have a little refresh, shall we, relating to BlackRock and the CEO of the WEF. Here you go. Electricity bills soar to record high as BlackRock WEF alliance seizes control of the US energy grid. Okay, so when these guys tag team together, when it comes to Bill Gates wanting to buy up all of the water, okay, and every part of that with his aquifers underneath all of this land that he's bought and purchased, same thing that he's done over here in the UK, both Bill Gates and Larry Fink buying up enormous amounts of land. I suspect that will be for the death camps and the labor camps and the re-education camps and everything of that particular sort. But we're seeing here across the country, Americans are opening their mailbox to find electricity bills at near record highs, forcing, this is where it gets really deviant, working families to make impossible choices between cooling their homes or buying groceries. It's the same thing that they had over here in the UK. It was either heating or eating. Okay, BlackRock, Larry Fink seizes the WEF throne. We covered that a couple of days ago, guys. Please do see our video as the Great Reset enters the enforcement phase. So only 2 days ago, did Larry Fink, declare that we were entering into this enforcement phase. And then lo and behold, today, literally, this guy's saying that resistance to the WEF leads to certain death. I'd say that's quite the enforcement. Continuing with this as well, BlackRock and Blackstone hijack America's power grid as WEF agenda creeps into every corner of life. This is the guy that literally owns everything, trillions and trillions of dollars this guy possesses. BlackRock's Larry Fink appointed as interim co-chair of the WEF. So literally a week, and this is what he's coming out with and saying. This is when we mentioned at the beginning of our live how he was the real pusher for this transgender issue. BlackRock rakes in billions, pushing child transitioning by saying that young bodies are a gold mine. Okay, so you can see where this is all going to be going with that ethos when it connects to transhumanism and the fourth industrial revolution, merging biology and technology, seeing that children are literally and their bodies are a gold mine. Doesn't that also, raise a few flags for you when it comes to how perverted these individuals also are? BlackRock, the sinister financial power, has been exposed for reaping obscene profits by thrusting gender affirming care onto defenseless kids, turning their innocence into a multi-million-dollar payday. This is who we're talking about when we're mentioning, Larry Fink. Bill Gates and BlackRock launch massive land grab to gain control of the British food supply. This is what we're seeing over here in the UK, seeing it over in America as well as China getting their pennies worth in additionally. So there's just a few headlines relating to Larry Fink. But I want to start us off with what he's been saying most recently around the electricity bills that we just covered. Let's cover that first. Electricity bills soar to record high as BlackRock WEF alliance seizes control of the US energy grid. This is the guy that could buy everything up himself. Okay, doesn't need necessarily the WEF partners and those that are on that sort of like executive. He can do this himself. So across the country in America, Americans are opening up their mailboxes to find electricity bills at near record highs, forcing working families to make impossible choices between cooling their homes or buying groceries. Do you also see where this is coming to the burden of man and adding and increasing that, causing everyone to get this mark? And so already we're now seeing BlackRock, WEF literally putting the squeeze on everyday households, and people won't notice it all of a sudden. It will all be very sort of like subtle when it's just like a few pounds or a few dollars to your bills. But then when you're having to mind that and count that so scrupulously and be so frugal with your resources, then you do end up feeling that hit. And then you're going to be having to make decisions about whether you cool your your homes, or you end up having some of these groceries, which by the way are really incredibly expensive. So these guys that say, oh, we want you to be healthy and have this make American healthy again, and all these other dictations that we have surrounding our health, they're not really sort of like making that really cost effective for people. And yet, while households are being squeezed, the unholy alliance of BlackRock and the World Economic Forum is tightening its grip on the very lifeline of modern life. In recent months, BlackRock, through its infrastructure arm, has quietly moved to buy up utilities and energy providers, positioning itself as one of the most powerful gatekeepers of America's electricity. So while people are being deceived and being fobbed off by this sort of like storyline, this is what this guy's doing. I'm hoping that you can see that your entire life is literally being sort of like channeled into some sort of like bottleneck with the impositions that have been placed upon you, making sure that he's buying up all the utilities. Why? So that they can turn all of those off when you're not being compliant, so they can punish you when it comes to, being able to buy or eat and where you can live and where you can rent. Let alone the atrocities and the abominations that this guy has literally reaped the harvest of for that gender altering surgery and this real push for the transgender, destroying the family unit and those that are working there as well. So in as much as it's like really tragic that there's been shootings over in America, my heart does go out to those families, no doubt. But this is also part of what they're also doing, is allowing these things to sort of like gain more traction as they're doing all these things behind your back. And before you even know it, you're going to be boiling, and then you're going to be wondering why, and you're not going to be able to get out the frying pan. The controversial takeover of Minnesota Power, a Duluth-based utility serving more than 150,000 customers, is just the latest example. This comes on the heel of other acquisitions and partnerships that have placed BlackRock squarely at the center of US energy system. And if you were to actually go through our community posts, and I hope you can, and go and see through there what actually BlackRock actually owns, you would be astonished. And there won't be an area of life that this company will not be able to impact, infiltrate, and destroy. It's absolutely terrifying. It's not a coincidence that as prices skyrocket, Wall Street consolidates control. Consumers pay more while global investment firms tighten their stranglehold on resources that once belonged to the public. And this is part of that, what they do over here in the UK as well, that they will sell all these like utility bills off and allow them to be privatized. And then these individual companies like the water or the gas or the electricity can charge you whatever they like without any recourse. And that's what we're now seeing. We're seeing the everyday basics that you and I both need to get through and buy. They're being outpriced by that. That's why Liz Truss, the Prime Minister over here, gave so much of like heating and fueling allowance, because it was obscene on how much electricity, how much water, and how much other bills are costing. All coming from, let's not forget, the former interim CEO, who was turning around and saying water isn't a right, having to pray for the very privilege of these things. They want to be controlling these things right here, right now, so that you are going to have that mark of the beast eventually to be able to purchase some of this stuff. So by taking it out of the government's hands and placing it into these demonic and corrupt organizations, okay, you're not going to be able to have a leg to stand on. You're not going to be able to put up a fight. You're not going to be able to vote them out because you didn't vote them in. At the center of this push is Larry Fink, BlackRock CEO, who recently rose to become head of the World Economic Forum, the globalist body notorious for promoting the Great Reset and openly calling for drastic restrictions on energy use in the name of climate change. This is what they're doing over here in the UK as well, setting up all of this artificial intelligence cabling. At the moment, they're using that cabling to silence, to suppress, to make your experience laggy with the picture and the volume, and then sort of like, make it impossible for me to upload my work. That's how they first want to use that. But then soon they'll be putting people onto rations. Okay, and putting that pertaining to their, social credit score system. Okay, you haven't made any videos challenging the government or speaking out against the beast system or whatever. Here you go, you can have a little bit of extra heating. Here you go, you can have a little bit extra, water and food and comforts. So they want to be sort of like using that and weaponizing that against you. And people are so docile and asleep that they're not seeing the walls closing in to them. And it will happen so very quickly when these guys acquisition these companies. They will be able to force you, and triangulate and isolate you and your home and just cut you off and cut you out. And when you're not going to be able to buy or sell, save having that mark of the beast, you're not also going to be able to pay for your rent and your roof over your head. And I was praying last night and I was like, Lord, this is going to be tragic for people, because no doubt they'll have this whole Anne Frank thing going on and around, where it'll be a case of, you're going to get prosecuted or fined or imprisoned for, harboring a Christian, or for helping your brother or your neighbor out with some bills or some utilities. But how are you going to do that if there's no cash? How are you going to be able to bless them? And there'll probably be enormous consequences for those that harbor and look after terrorists. They'll call them terrorists, but Christians really, when they haven't, or not prepared to take the mark of the beast or bow down and worship its image. And this is what we're seeing here, the setting up of all of this underneath this lie that is the climate lie. Under the guise of sustainability and decarbonization, the agenda is clear. Concentrate power over essential resources into the hands of unelected financial elites, causing all, both great and small. Fink himself has long championed stakeholder capitalism. Of course he would, because that's all about money for him, isn't it? A friendly sounding euphemism that masks a deeper reality. Corporations, not citizens, will dictate who gets access to energy, how much, and at what price. By seizing utilities, BlackRock and the WEF can implement this agenda directly, controlling not just the market, but the very flow of electricity into American homes. How long is it going to be until I'm receiving letters saying, oh, well, sorry, all of this eco-warrior tree-hugging nonsense, we're going to be sort of like under the guise of sustainability and net zero nonsense, we're going to be sort of like cutting your electricity off for half a day. Absolutely astonishing. And whenever they do, sort of like power cuts for like a whole day, then, all of a sudden, things on my phone don't start working. Other things start to fall apart. And this is what they're wanting. Let's just read that again. By seizing utilities, BlackRock and the WEF can implement this agenda directly, controlling not just the markets, but the very flow of electricity into American homes. Taken together, the pattern is unmistakable. Soaring bills for ordinary people, record profits for Wall Street, and a centralized agenda to ration energy under the pretext of saving the planet. While families struggle to keep the lights on, BlackRock and its allies at the WEF are engineering a future where access to power itself becomes a privilege. It also becomes managed, also becomes monitored and restricted by global financiers. So when you see what the Lord writes in Revelation 13:16, saying, causes all, because this is what it's going to be, by having access to everything, monopolizing every aspect of us all. You can't even have a Word document nowadays without Bill Gates' name on that. And Larry Fink owns far much more than all of the tech giants altogether. So when we were talking about yesterday around Bill Gates and, Jeff Bezos, those guys earn a lot of money, have a lot of scratch. They really do. Together combined, they are incredibly wealthy. So you can understand why they're investing into brain chips and microchips. Same thing with Elon Musk as well, his wealth with Tesla and SpaceX and X as well. The enormity of wealth and his Neuralink connection. Connecting also to, Sam Altman, he's now getting him, to all of that with ChatGPT, and he's also investing into brain chips also. And then you add Peter Thiel. Well, Larry Fink owes more than all of them combined. And this is the guy that wants to force people into compliance and thinks that he can do so behaviorally. It's absolutely terrifying what this individual is literally able to now do. So when Larry Fink warns resistance to the WEF, means certain death, what does that tell you? It's like something out of Star Trek, isn't it? Resistance is futile. Hi there, God bless you, Sherry. Thank you, Mike, for being here. Bless you. So let's go into this monstrosity of an article. BlackRock's Larry Fink wasted no time. His first message as a new head of the World Economic Forum were chilling. Those who resist the global agenda will be eliminated. He's only got to hook up with Peter Thiel and Palantir and the Gotham sort of targeting that's going on at the moment. That's what's being used in the Middle East at the moment. His Gotham sort of kill switches and all of the technology that's being used over there at the present. PCR video as well on Rumble that exposes Peter Thiel, and you will see the drones that they've literally got that can just come out of nowhere and just shoot you in the head, telling me that these guys can't hook up in that particular way when it comes to compliance. No one will be out of nowhere is that they end up going all of a sudden out of the blue in the shadows. The Klaus Schwab years were just a rehearsal. Now the script has changed. The globalists believe too many have failed to comply. So they're shifting into what they call the enforcement phase. And this is it. It's like, first of all, they want to, say, we want to regain your trust. And then they want to come up with this enforcement phase. Can people not see through this when there's so much coercion, so much infiltration, and that those particular individuals carry out Davos's agenda, which no doubt the Antichrist behind the scenes with a big show and tell is telling them to do? Probably turning around to them and saying, we've got about 25 days left before it's our time. We've got to get real busy. Assuming, of course, we go home on the Feast of Trumpets. But isn't that really concerning, isn't it? We've covered Klaus Schwab over the last 8 years. And now these two monsters in this position are going to be rolling out, making good on their threats. And who better to lead it than the man behind BlackRock, the trillion-dollar titan that already shapes the world markets and governments? The union of BlackRock and the WEF isn't just strategy. It's escalation, and it's a warning shot to the world. Because make no mistake, the WEF didn't die with Klaus Schwab stepping down. It actually evolved. And what comes next will decide who survives and who doesn't. It's going to be a case of you're either on my side or you're not. Same thing George W. Bush said to the world, wasn't it? You're either for us or you're against us. It's the same thing that's going to be there now, isn't it? You either bend over now and worship and bow down and submit, or that's it, you're done, son. It's the same threat that's also there. It causes all, both great and small, to receive this, to pay homage, to bow down, to acknowledge, to worship, which is all this is all about. But you're having the World Economic Forum in the shape of one world government dictating who survives and who doesn't. That's troubling, is it not? Unelected individuals. This week, the message from the globalists couldn't be louder. BlackRock plus WEF equals total control. They are celebrating as the world's largest asset manager, famous for forcing behaviors into green compliance and globalist obedience, has merged with the very forum that engineers their dystopian blueprints. Schwab WEF tried to pressure you into compliance. Fink's WEF will leave you no choice. In their vision, now you see it taking shape with the following sentence: national sovereignty is finished. What do you think they're trying to do over here in the UK? We keep saying it and we keep saying it. Remove national identity, remove the sovereignty, so that, you know, the second club of Rome, the UK, can rejoin the European Union or Brexit, and that the first kingdom of the Club of Rome in America can go and take and steal Canada and go and take Greenland as well. Please see our, you know, video on Rumble in the community post titled, you know, Trump's 51st day isn't just a land grab, it's prophetic, because this is all pertaining to Daniel's vision of the 10 kings at the end of time. And now we're seeing this really take shape. So this is their vision. Their vision was also a signal of intent when it came to Inauguration Day with no US flags. In their vision, national sovereignty is finished, borders obsolete. Well, you've got a great trial run with Europe where you can just have an open border policy, and then all of a sudden you're going to have, you know, civil war in these countries. Those are, you know, adhere to the British or their particular country's values and ethoses, and then they're not going to be happy when they're all getting loads of benefits like we've got in the UK, where people are being put up in 4-star hotels, being protected left, right, and centre, where it's now a crime for people to be turning around and wearing a Union Jack flag because that's upsetting the immigrants. Are you flipping kidding me? Do you know what I mean? Back the truck out and get out is what I would say. If you don't come to a country and adopt its rules and its way of life, then you shouldn't be there. It's just like when I go abroad to another country, I want to learn the language. I want to try, even if I butcher it. And you will find people be a lot more warmer to you for you trying to sort of like attempt to speak that tongue, as opposed to the arrogance that I guess a lot of Brits and other people do, Westerners especially, of thinking that everybody speaks your language. No, you get involved into all of that. So then this is what will happen. Starmer's just leaving all of this to boil and boil and boil and boil up. And then, we're just going to have to follow what Trump's done by example and put boots on the ground and martial law this because it's getting too much. We'll just have to implement the digital IDs all of a sudden because we don't know who's who. It's just going to be absolutely awful. And this is what we're seeing, the removal of that. We're seeing Revelation 17:13, all being of one mind to give their power to the beast. And this is part of that. No doubt that's been the charge. Go and get them. Destroy national sovereignty. I don't care. I don't want any flags. I don't want any of these sorts of things in place. Remove all of that pride. Punish it. Cause civil war if you have to, because if they kick off too much, then we'll ban them from being able to freely protest. We'll ban them what they can say online about it and speaking out against it with the online safety bill and the soon-to-be online policing bill. And they'll have nowhere to go. And then we'll put all of these other restrictions on them, like you can't fly abroad to this place or to that place. So we'll just quarantine all of these countries and we'll pulverize them into submission. This is what they literally want to be doing. And it's absolutely disgusting that this is happening. Even the United States, once so proud, will soon learn its place. It will kneel, it will grovel, and it will obey. Gates is laughing like a hyena because he and Larry Fink are singing from the same satanic hymn sheet. These guys that have this sort of like, ritual mocking by putting poo and wee in our foods and, chopping up children and sticking them in Mackie D's. These are the guys that think that you're too stupid to realize that you're being vaccinated against your will with dental floss, with hand creams and hand lotions, that you're too stupid and blind to see what's actually overhead in the chemtrails that are also, aerovax and, vaccinating you without, your consent. Same thing they're doing with the food and the water as well. They're assuming that you're so stupid as well. This is part of what they do by revelation of the method. But it's also a grand satanic ritual to humiliate and mock and scoff you, to assume that you are so stupid, so naive, so gullible, and that you think when you hear things like this, that can't be true. Surely. That's how outlandish it literally is. So these guys go by the Club of Rome and the Bilderbergs, yeah, and the Committee of 300's agenda, all gearing around this climate lie, making you and I almost being convinced of our own demise, that we are part of the problem. Oh, so I'll just go and kill myself then, shall I? Because I'm such a burden upon this planet. No, not at all. I keep saying it and people hate me for it. I don't care. Okay, the climate lie is the Beast Systems GoFundMe project. Where do you think they else are going to get this trillions at his disposal from? By taking it away from both you and I. God destroys the earth, not man. People need to read the book of Revelation. 7 seals, 7 bowls, 7 trumpets. And 2 really ticked off witnesses that we've been saying, let alone the Armageddon. And these guys have a depopulation agenda, stupidly cutting off their own noses despite their own faces in advance. Because when the Lord starts dealing with his judgment and his wrath throughout the tribulation, they're going to be really regretting all of the other things that they've been sabotaging since then. Because I can tell you what, man, if I ever get an opportunity to talk to one of the 2 witnesses, I'll be turning around and saying, go and find all of the land that Bill Gates owns and destroy it, so that actually they can't eat, so that they can't feed. And here's some company names that you might want to be really aware of. Here's some HQs of these tech giants that you might want to sort of like go and take down. You know, just go down there, make some prayer and send firestorms from heaven. I'll be up there making them for you if I can contribute in any possible way. The next phase in their plan is depopulation as per the Club of Rome's limits to growth, reducing the world to a manageable size, stripping away entire populations under the banner of sustainability. This is what we've been seeing in, you know, Japan and other nations, in Australia, in the UK, various other sort of, you know, countries crying out, our birth rates are declining rapidly. It's not going to be too long until there's going to be nothing of us left. So I believe also that when, you know, Father God said, right, the tribulation is just going to be 2,550 days. That's going to be the entirety of the tribulation, the 7 years. I believe that it was also his graciousness, his mercy, and his compassion that just bookended it to just 7 years. And it says, and he says, for the sake of the elect. I think the sake of the elect is also the years that went before that, the years that we are now in. Because left to these guys in another year, in another 2 years, there would be literally next to nobody left. When men are being sterilized, when everyone's having sudden adult deaths and heart attacks and, you know, various other supercharged cancers and everything else is being weaponized against us, there'd be no chance. And these are the guys that also want to manipulate and use weather to, you know, get these countries to kneel. Okay, it's a case of we'll just build back better, all lower, you know, case B's for 666. And the big, beautiful bill, there's another evidence of that, of the 666. We'll just burn everything down, ready for World Cups, ready for smart cities. Yeah, because these governmental leaders aren't being so compliant. Actually, no, they want to keep their autonomy. They want to keep their history and their identity. And they don't want the demonic forums way of life or the beast systems stranglehold over their community. They don't want that. Okay, fine, we're just going to flood you out then. All right, we're going to weaponize you with direct energy weapons. Augustus and Rainmaker will flood you right out. Okay, and we'll just do all of these sorts of things like they did in LA, like they did in Maui, and like they did in Texas, and like they're doing now in Greece and also in Spain. Okay, and then well, here you go. Here's a strange earthquake with a massive tsunami in and around, you know, opposition's military installations. And this is what they're doing for that, isn't it? Same thing they're doing over here in the UK. I've been saying it for some time now. You get the farmers out here that will save all of the cow manure. They'll muck it all out and put it all into some cesspit. Okay, and then when it comes to them, you know, fertilizing the field, ready for the crops, they will go and spray all of this everywhere. It stinks, man. And then what will happen after that is that, literally an hour or two later, the rains will just poof, and then it will go right into the roots of the soil, ready to be planted. It's a great way of them having natural sort of like, pesticide and everything else. Yeah. But what's been happening is that they've been spraying it and then there's been no rain. And then when it comes to them harvesting their crops, when it has been done, it's been done so lately that then that's also just been flooded out. If you can tolerate the obnoxious behavior to Jeremy Clarkson, please do see on Amazon Prime The Farm and see how impossible it is for farmers anywhere to make a living, because they want to control the food and the water. That's the first thing that they're trying to do and buy up, so they can control and manipulate everybody on earth, because people will do that. And what does Jesus say? He causes all, both great and small, for to receive them. There's no buying, there's no selling. You can't do anything. And what do you think that buying and selling is going to be? It's going to be food, and it's going to be water. So you're going to have Christians out on the run who aren't going to be able to pay their rent. Okay, they're not going to be able to, probably hunt or do some of these things. If you find my go bag, you're well covered. All right, but you'll be able to survive on your own in that particular way, because the system is literally going to be forcing you into compliance, and we're seeing how this literally happens. And by adopting the Club of Rome's, depopulation agenda, you've got Ursula von der Leyen herself, literally turning around and saying that the 70s think tank agreed that there was too many people on Earth. And that's a lie for a start. Okay. And they came up with this limits to growth, and what was it, others say around depopulation. Please see our videos where we're on Rumble when it says, the answer is depopulation. Now, what's your question? Because it's all about that. And it's all about the climate lie. And it's also for these beast system elects carving up the spoils of the earth, thinking that they are the masters of this. Here you go. We're going to divide the entire world up into 10 kingdoms, totally and utterly nicking that from the prophet Daniel. And now we're seeing it take shape, are we not? With fractions between the US and Russia. Oh yeah, we really need to take care of Greenland. You just wait until there's a nuclear dust cloud in Canada somewhere, or there's some serious thing going on where they've had to have kind of like American intervention. And you can see for yourself what we're saying around this. So the next phase in their plan is depopulation, reducing the world to a manageable size. Good luck with that. Stripping away entire populations under the banner of sustainability. To them, fewer people means fewer problems and absolute power over whoever remains. And this is a tweet that the World Economic Forum came out and said, 2025 is our enforcement phase. Compliance is no longer optional. Do you see what they're also going to be making that the case? Well, if you don't bow down to the beast and if you don't take his mark, then we're going to cut off your head. Taking away a choice or giving next to none. Welcome to the New World Order ESG slave grid, where every purchase, every movement, every decision will be tracked, scored, and judged. Under the banner of sustainability and equity, they are building a digital cage, one that rewards obedience and punishes dissent by replacing you with a machine. Just look at what they do to us as a channel. I've been really honest and vulnerable with you relating to what they've been doing with my banking, what they do to Positive ID and me, taking pictures of me, following me. I'm having really weird phone calls and my text doing its own stuff. I can't make any more videos. I'm being demonetized. They're stealing views here on YouTube so that we're not able to get any traction to reach an audience that, in my opinion, really needs to know some of this stuff. All right. If that's not an example that there's a social credit score system already in effect, I don't know what else to tell you. I suppose I could say that they took down 6 channels because we weren't compliant to the B Systems guidelines, and we spoke out against evil and the vaccines and everything else that the Lord told us to report on. But I won't. Don't estimate how far they are willing to go to achieve their agenda. Assassinate the sitting president of a democratic nation. Yeah, they've done that. They've already taken out half a dozen leaders who opposed Big Pharma's COVID vaccine rollout. Do you remember what we reported just a few days ago around Japan and the Japanese president who refused to sort of like, comply with the global elites agenda, and he was assassinated, and other European Parliament leaders have also had that. And this is what they've set up beautifully in a really deviant way, knowing that people want to get their freak on for one reason or another, and they've got really shady and dodgy sexual appetites. Then all of a sudden they'll go to the Oprah Winfrey's places, or they'll go to these, sort of like P. Diddy, factories or whatever, parties, call them what you will. Okay, and then they'll, give them what will appear to be all the spoils. Oh, here you go. Here's a woman, or here's a whatever. They happen to be a child, or here's a boy, or whatever, and take pictures. And all of a sudden you've got them, and you can manipulate them, and they can use whatever technology that they want as they like, being the creators of it all, to be able to sort of like say, hey, look, this is what you were doing on your phone the other day. Do what we say, or else this will become, we'll drop this, we'll leak this. And then you control and manipulate them. It's exactly what they've done with RFK Jr., who was right up through the COVID years, very flamboyant and very much out there speaking out against it. And now all of a sudden he's been, and now he's sort of like imposing trackable, wearable devices on every single American. So these guys are capable of doing that. They've assassinated all of the scientists. And if they didn't end up taking their lives or imprisoning them for that, then they discredited them and just killed them in another way, destroyed their reputation, destroyed their ability to be able to make a living, because they refused to comply, because they dared to ask some questions. And don't forget, both wannabe Trump assassins appeared. All right, this is where it is, guys. Okay, seeing that they're all singing from the same song sheet, Revelation 17:13, being of all one mind, they're all in on it. All right, how in any version of history can you go back and say that you've had all these nations all of a sudden being all bang tidy and close knit together and being in agreement, being in accord? That's not politics. Everyone should be outraged and all of this, but oh no. And this is why. This is why. And don't forget, both wannabe Trump assassins appeared in BlackRock commercials in the year before their failed attempts on Trump's life. Seriously, what are the chances? I'd put the odds at about 12 trillion to 1. Coincidentally, that's the exact sum Larry Fink commands through BlackRock. 12 trillion. Trillion. More wealth than the GDP of every nation on earth, except the United States and China. That's terrifying, fam. And according to Fink, BlackRock and the WEF's power will soon dwarf even the economies of the United States and China. Why? Because sovereignty is dead. Borders are obsolete, and only globalist rules apply now. So you might think that we're just talking and harping on about the WEF. We're not. We are talking about the beast system. All right? This is what we're talking about. And this is going to have a real massive bearing for those through the tribulation, and for us, for how long it is that we've got down here as we live underneath its burden and its yoke. So if you dare to stand in the way of the elite's dream of becoming gods, they just won't silence you. They'll erase you. Think that sounds like an exaggeration? They've said it themselves on record. Yuval Noah Harari has dressed it up as sophistry, layering his words with philosophy and futurism. But the message is always the same. Humanity must be reduced, managed, and controlled. And then there's the other WEF ghoul, the one who drops the mask entirely. No flowery language, just a psychopathic rant so unhinged it nearly broke him in front of the cameras. That was only a glimpse of the raw contempt these people hold for the rest of us. The truth is, the WEF never disappeared. They were regrouping, and now they are back with a new playbook, sharper teeth, and more ruthless intent than ever before. This time it isn't about persuasion, it's about pressure, it's about force. With Larry Fink's Black Rock as the engine of control, the enforcement phase is no longer speculation. It's about to invade every corner of your daily life. Those insane prices you're feeling at the pump, insane prices that you're feeling at the grocery store, at the checkout line. This isn't an accident. It isn't just bad luck, it's policy. BlackRock's policy by design. They've been driving costs higher and higher, making everyday necessities unbearable for ordinary people. Why is that? Well, it's to break you. It's to force you to change your behavior, to make you trade freedom for sustainability, sovereignty, for compliance. So, you know, I for years I've had a bank card, and it's only been in the last 5 or 6 years that I've not been effectively able to use my bank card. It won't accept anything on a contactless payment. So when I'm going on a bus and I have to go on a bus and I'm trying to pay for it that way, it won't accept it. And it doesn't have a chip and pin on a bus. So with public transport, to force you into compliance. It's forcing you to say, well, okay, I can't afford that then. I can only afford this. So that you end up bowing to this particular agenda. And this is it, to force you into compliance, coercion, manipulation, deviance, and now the threatening of death. Do we understand and see how close this is really getting to the mark of the beast? And individuals literally, going to be sort of like outside shops. Please see the movie that we made, come up here, where there were some beautiful images that the Lord really helped me put together. And it was about, these sort of like robots standing outside of shops, sort of like all like this, taking out people as they were trying to get in. Because that's what it's going to be like. Where's your mark? Where's your beast? Sorry, you've got 20 seconds to comply. And then that's going to be it. Pop, pop, pop. You're done, son. Rat-a-tat-tat. You're not going to be able to eat. You're not going to be able to buy. You're not going to be able to go anywhere. And they start putting up all of this surveillance everywhere. You're going to be really finding it hard to run. So preppers out there, I'll say to you, and I say it again, those that want to save their lives will lose it. And those that lose their life for Jesus' sake will find it. I think that's part and parcel of another reason why the Lord Jesus said that, because it was a giveaway to what the trib's going to be like. But this is what it's going to be. It's going to be terrifying for those that are in the tribulation. How much do they really love their comforts? How much are they really prepared to go without? We've been so demonetized here. I struggle financially, but the Lord provides for me. I don't get monetizations here on this channel at all. It's really difficult, but I'm prepared to go through some discomfort and some hassle and some pain in my life to serve the Lord, because he's worthy of it all. He deserves every bit of me. And he is faithful in giving me and meeting me and my needs. He's so faithful and so very generous. So I'm really blessed, and I would rather be dependent upon him to look after me than a system that just literally does not care less. So about two years ago, things started to get really hot for me personally. I'd have like white vans screeching up inside of me. So I'm talking, where are you going? What are you doing? I've been, none of your business, mate. I'm on a prayer walk. Why are you going on a prayer walk? Why are you going on a walk? What planet are you on? Why do you need to know? And then as I was trying to walk off, this van following me as well. And then all of a sudden he says, wait, as I was talking and replying to him with something in his headpiece, and he just drives off. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to be thrown into your back of your van, mate. Next minute, I'm getting body cameras so that I can walk around with this on my coat. And then I've got legal knives, okay, that I've got in my pockets. Like, any of these people try it, man. I'm not going to let them take me easy. I'm going to put up a fight. And the Lord really pulled me up on it and said, Dan, what are you doing? You're looking to your own self for your own survival, your own protection. You're relying upon your own wit and your own skill and your own strength and what you've been taught in the past. You're not relying upon me to look in and after you. You're not looking to me to protect you. You're looking to yourself to do that. Put those things away and trust me for everything. That includes your life. So when I say here on our prayer, when I'm praying every single morning, my prayers will be, Lord, into your hands I commit my life and my death, my every breath and my every step. Have your way with me, Lord. I live underneath the shadow of your mighty wing, and yours alone. You want me to be taken out, you take me out. You want me to be an example, throw me in jail, you do whatever you need to do, Lord. I believe and I trust in you. And that's where it's going to need to be for the tribulation saints. These are the decisions that they are going to have to make as well. Will they defend their own lives at the expense of maybe taking another? Or will they literally, like we are told that we are, lambs and sheep to be slaughtered, knowing full well that once death is finished with us, that we are in glory. We are with the Lord Jesus Christ. And that's so important. So that sort of like made me change my behavior relating to that, and not to be living in fear, not to be living in paranoia, or not to be allowing the attacks that we experience when we're being demonetized, when the pressure's being piled on us, when we can't afford the basics, and when things are really uncomfortable and really, really painful, that we don't give in to the enemy also and then start, imploding as everything's exploding. We've got to just stand strong and be resolute in our obedience and our trust in Father God, because he is so faithful, so faithful. As an ex-soldier, I quite like some of these guys to be stupid enough to try and come and get me. I really would. That would be my dark side talking. But the Holy Spirit inside of me is just like, no, I'm not just my own. I belong to the Lord Jesus Christ now. These guys want to do what they got to do, then that's fine. I'll have a martyr's crown for that. Thank you very much. So when we're talking around, and I don't always put it right, I'm sorry, I don't. But when we're saying around, but by our example, we need to be speaking up against the beast system, because our brothers and sisters, our friends, our family, our community, the tribulation saints that we will also be spending eternity with, will be having to make these very same decisions. And we want to model and we want to mirror here how it is that we can do this, how we stood up against the beast system and said, these vaccines are not okay. This technology is not okay. These people you need to be really wary of. And this is Bible prophecy. And this is what the Lord has to say about some of these particular things. And it's important that we also say that, Jesus loves absolutely all of these guys that I sometimes really find like I want to loathe and I want to hate. And he has such a heart for them as well, that they come to the truth, that they become saved, they call upon his name. But it's heartbreaking to see all of these things literally taking shape, because it's going to get really violent soon. They will be making examples of people, just like gangsters will when it comes to public executions and the things of that sort, to get you into shape. The same thing they did with the compliance factor with the COVID vaccines, did they not? With having people laying down the street, falling over dead. Fear is a really great way to get people to be compliant. But another way, secondary to that, is controlling and manipulating everything around them when it comes to their food and their water, the things they need to survive, and their livelihoods. And this is what we're seeing literally being taken out, all gearing up, ready for this. Take away your freedom of movement. Take away your freedom to protest, to raise any opposition. What's that going to be like, man, when you're having boots on the ground and you have a martial law? It's not going to be too long until they're quarantining off your village and your city and your town, and you can't get out no more. Oh, it's all for your own protection. There you go. There's a 15-minute city straight away. They don't have to build billion-dollar ones and burn whole, countrysides and areas of the states in order to do that, or flood it all out. And here's the part most people don't realize. This is only the beginning. If you think it's bad now, wait until you see what BlackRock and the WEF have planned next. First on the chopping block, private car ownership. All right, this is it. So they can just confine you, into just being one area. What have I been telling you about my bank? My car wouldn't let me work. That's really embarrassing. But it's a great way to make sure that I'm restricted. I can't go out. I can't cause any more hassle or damage to them. That I'm just segregated to this particular place. And then they control everything with the AI and the cabling. And they can just switch me off. No worries. That's why we left YouTube a year and a bit ago, was because they had a kill switch. I ain't going to let no one have that power and hold over me. No way, Jose. It's by the grace of God that we're still even here and up. But this is it, private car ownership. According to them, you can walk or you can share. After all, in your neat little 15-minute city, why would you need a car at all? And this is what they've also done, grooming the people in advance for this, haven't they? Just see how Sainsbury's or Tesco's or, Asda's all become. First of all, they start up to be like a supermarket. Then they start buying in clothes. Yeah. Then they start getting you some electrical goods. Yeah. Then they start building up on top of that and having it all in one place where you can literally then buy all your household items. So you're getting it all, very groomed, very gradually into that, and then monopolizing it so that you don't have to go here, there, and everywhere like you used to do to go and get your everyday bits and bobs. And what about travel? Well, forget freedom of movement. You'll need permission. This is why all these plane crashes and everything else is there, isn't it? To put people into that fearing sort of like mentality and component. Oh, you don't want to be getting out on a plane in case it all goes down. Oh, no. And let's be honest, a troublemaker like you with your growing list of thought crimes won't be granted clearance to leave the block, ever. Think I'm exaggerating? Think again. Last year I was in Texas. I had to surrender my eyeballs and my finger. I didn't surrender them. They did give them back, but I had to have them scanned, in order to get in. I didn't know that. And I can tell you right here, right now, if I'd known that, I would have not have gone. No way I would have given up my fingerprints or my iris scan. How dare you ask that of me and treat me like I'm a criminal when I'm a guest in your country? I had the civility to walk right through your front gate, son, and pay an absolute arm and a leg for it, by the way. And what? You took that off me for what? Thinking I was going to go over there and cause some trouble or something? We don't do that to you. Why are you doing it to us? But it gets worse. Emboldened by their new power, they no longer are satisfied with driving up the price of protein. Now they're coming for the world's staple foods. What we were saying about the other day about them waging the war on rice. Here we go. Rice, the cheap, reliable source of nutrition that feeds half the planet, is being lined up for the same treatment. The goal, to push it out of reach, to make even the most basic necessities unaffordable, Black Rock style. Did you catch that? Carbon is no longer the WEF's only monster under the bed. Now they've unveiled a brand new manufactured villain, methane. And what a coincidence. It just so happens they'll need trillions more in taxpayer funds to fight this latest existential threat. So when we say, the climate light is the Beast Systems GoFundMe project, and then you get King Charles, #NotMyKing, saying he's going to need a military style campaign with trillions at his disposal, voila. It sounds like a lot of hot air to me, but let's be honest, the only thing methane is fueling here is the next cash grab. Because when it comes to the global elite, the only thing that excites them more than inventing another manufactured crisis is a chance to sadistically crush the spirit of ordinary people. What we were saying about what is it they're doing really when it all comes down to it, adding to the burden of man. Don't take our word for it. A WEF insider openly admitted the push to make humanity eat bugs is designed, in their words, to crush the human soul. This is what it's all about. And this is why I still can't understand how people cannot choose our Messiah, our Lord and our Savior, Jesus Christ. I can't understand it. Who is the way, the truth and the life, who is so loving, who is so giving, so selfless, so gracious, kind, compassionate, merciful, the beauty that he is. And then why people want to worship Satan and the enemy, who is nothing but a liar and a thief and a murderer. I can't get that. We read in 1 Peter 5:8, be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Yes, what they're doing all the time. 1 John 3:8, whoever makes a practice of sinning is of the devil, for the devil has been sinning from the beginning. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of the devil. It's our great joy to expose that, Ephesians 5:11 styling. And when people want to put their hope and their faith and their trust in Lucifer, and they want to serve the beast system, John 8:44, you are of your father the devil, calling you out, and your will is to do your father's desire. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. And when he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. And with all of these sort of like sustainability and all of these things that they try and dangle you with and manipulate and coerce you with, all furthering adding to the deception. 2 Corinthians 11:14, and no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Part of what we need to be doing when it comes to the World Demonic Forum, and not be sort of like so sketched out by them, but as we read in James 4:7, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. You just say that over your life. Yeah, just like, frequently. Submit yourself, therefore, to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. And our blessed hope, our sort of like joy will be Romans 16:20, the God of peace will soon crush Satan under your feet. And the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ be with you. So this is basically where they are literally at. So when we're talking around these guys wanting to crush the human soul, it doesn't just stop there. Now the WEF has declared war on coffee, branding drinkers as culprits of so-called global boiling. Their solution, coffee drinkers must be stopped at all costs. It's just like, just want to set them out to sea in a punctured dinghy, personally. I digress. According to their own projections, in the future, you won't be enjoying a daily cup. You'll be rationed to just 2 or 3 cups per year. Do you know what I mean? If some of y'all want to be topping up a little bit on your coffee, you might want to think about doing that there now. All right. The criminal insane have taken over the asylum literally. They've handed a boardroom seat to none other than Ghislaine Maxwell's sister. That's awesome. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about who's running the show, nothing will. And that leaves us with a choice. Sit back and watch the madness spread, or take back control before it is too late. Australian Senator Malcolm Roberts calls it, and rightly so, the Great Resist. Clearly, the globalist elite have earmarked these times to usher in the long-threatened New World Order with its false promises of climate science, depopulation, and eugenics. And when we're talking about the New World Order, what we are talking about is one world government, one world religion, and one world currency. All right. Going to leave that particular article there for us. We did look at a few things relating to what Larry Fink has been doing recently, and the WEF, especially BlackRock. Also a bit of a dive into this article, as well as I've got one more that I just want to cover for us, but I'd like to check in to see who the Lord's brought here for us today. So bless you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Sherry, for you holding the fort. Really do appreciate you guys. Thank you. Yeah, Sherry's saying here, Mark 8:36, for what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? This ain't going to be able to save him. What does Jesus say? Store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. All right. This is what he says to us. This is what we have the joy of being able to do right now, despite how hard it is that we're waiting still and that we're still here, is that there's other opportunities for us to overcome some things in our life. There's some opportunities for us to, bless and honor the Lord. But yeah, what does it really matter when you're going to lose your soul? Ain't going to be a case of like, oh, well, you were really rich on earth. Here you go. You can have this particular portion of hell. It doesn't work like that. Hi there, Rebecca. Hi there, Mike. God bless you guys. Yeah, enjoy your coffee, Mike Blood, because you might not be able to have much of that left there now. Hi there, Rebecca. Bless you. Hi there, Sylvia. I'm really great that you guys are all hooking up together and having that element of fellowship. It's really important. Hi there, Cindy. Good to see you. God bless you. Yeah, faith over fear. Yeah, absolutely. This is the thing about fear, is that when it's at you and it's in your face, you just got to walk on through it. That's really hard to do. You get the courage afterwards, never before, and you just got to walk through it. And like we've been saying before, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, let's not have a Peter Pan mentality and get sketched out by only a shadow, because it is just only a shadow. But let's stand up against some of that. Interesting article we're going to cover here in a minute. Rebecca's saying, yeah, you're so right, Dan. All of the setup is happening around us, and few people question it or think it's abnormal. No, because it's a slow ball. It's like, while you're being distracted with this silly article, silly news, silly reports, they're instigating and implementing all of this around you. Speaking to people in government over here in the UK, I was literally talking to them saying, what do you think about the online safety bill? Huh? And I'm just like, oh my days, that you really? I was like, really? I said, I suppose you don't know much about the online police and crime bill then? And they went, nah. It's like, well, I'm so glad that we're singing from the same song sheet, but half of them don't know about this stuff because they're being deceived and they're being fooled and they're being manipulated and coerced. And the enemy's diversion and distraction tactics are working and people are buying into them. Unbelievable. And people aren't questioning this. They're not standing up. And let's be honest, even if they did, what could they do? You've got the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab turning around saying we ain't stopping now for nothing because the slice is too deep. We're on a roll. Excuse me. Oh, bless it. Yeah, exactly, Sylvia. They also believe the lies of their father. It's like, really, if none of you, any of these guys ever see like the movie End of Days? Do you know what I mean? Okay, where you get Gabriel Bryn rocking out from hell playing Lucifer. Did that boy ever play nice? No. He went straight round to one of his lackeys and ended up sleeping with his wife and his daughter, and then ended up killing all them all off. Do you know what I mean? That's the first thing he ends up doing, was killing the first person he ended up putting his tongue down the throat of. Do you think he's really going to be sort of keeping him to his promises? Oh, yeah, Eve, you're not going to die from that apple, sweetheart. Really? Do you think he's changed in his behavior, in his nature? No, we just read that out, didn't we? That's his very nature. The complete opposite, where the enemy wants to steal, kill, and destroy. And what did Jesus come to? That we have life and life to the full. And whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Not in prison, not coerced, all by freedom of choice. Jesus says, here I am. If you come and walk with a relationship with me, I paid for your sins in full, completely full. Call upon my name. There's no manipulation. There's no treating us like robots. God could have gone in that way. He could have gone down that path, but he didn't. He wanted people that would love him and adore him and worship him because they wanted to. And that's the sort of love that the Father deserves as well. But no, he's never going to keep him to his promises. Like we've been saying, these guys that serve the beast system, really, have you been told what foods you should and should not be eating? Have your family been told also that? Have you also been told what times not to go outside and breathe in these toxins also? Have you been given an exfil strategy when it all hits the fan and everything all goes on, you and your loved ones? 2012 movie star with John Cusack. Have you got a place on the ark? Have you got all of this? Do you think honestly that you are going to place your hope in a liar like Satan and Lucifer? You're going to put in your hope and faith in trusting him that he's going to give you the spoils that he has promised? You don't think he's going to go back on his word? I'm telling you right now. It's unbelievable. They are blinded. Absolutely. Yeah, Alison's saying, hi, Alison. Yeah, so they get everyone to work from home, then cut off their electricity. It's absolutely hysterical, isn't it? And it's just such a lie. The whole climate is a lie. It's an absolute lie. And then we're so overpopulated. No, we're not. We just stupidly end up having to live and work in places like, you know, big cities or big towns. Everyone crammed in, but we're not. That's another lie. It's unbelievable what they force feed you. And this is it. It's like, you know, all of these climate huggers, all right, they're being willing participants in their own demise. This is what they're literally working hard for and to achieve. So manipulative when it comes to science and real science, when it comes to samples being done. Well, they've got to spray some toxins over some areas where they'll go and do their research, because you can't lie about it all, but you can definitely manipulate and coerce who it is that you're going to get to look at this particular study that will deliberately give you an outcome like that. And funding's only going to be given to these places that agree with their ideology and their agenda. And we're talking about science, really? What about asking questions? Please, sir, what's in that vaccine before I roll up my sleeve? Really? Oh, I can't ask that question, can you? No. Oh, really? Dead baby aborted fetuses. Why are we having that? And who agreed to this? Is that absolutely necessary? Self-assembly nanotechnologies. Oh, yeah, you may as well just plug me in right now, blood. Oh, really? Can't ask those questions, can you? All coming out now, like we said yesterday. Please see our video. Wait, what's in the vaccine? In our community post yesterday. See the evidence there for yourself. But it's absolutely astonishing, isn't it, that we've got these things and no one's able to ask the question. No one's able to critically evaluate that. No one's able to turn around and say, sorry, no. Yeah, The Devil's Advocate. That's another great movie. Yeah, Sherry saying that, yeah, people have no clue of what's going on around them. They are blinded, and it's sad. And as a wall, we've also got to really do a better job as well, because we're becoming partisan to that, are we not? When we're just choosing to look at stuff that's either propaganda, cry wolfing, or the easy peasy path of least resistance to report on and make videos about, we are reinforcing people's ignorance by them not knowing what's going on. Like I said, what happened if through the COVID and the pandemic, the whole church together was all unison together, say, we ain't shutting our doors, we ain't giving up, we're not bowing down to the system, we're going to speak out against it. People have no clue about what's going on because so few people are prepared to talk about it. So when I'm turning around to these people that are probably on the other end of this thinking, any second now I can terminate your life, I can take your channel down, I'm asking these guys as well, we're doing this for you. Ain't for us. We're doing this for you. We're whistleblowing. We're telling the truth. And you're going to regret the day that you take us down and out and away, because all of a sudden you're going to be completely broken arrowed and overrun, overwhelmed, and it's going to be too late by that time. So we do this out of love for you. I never took that stupid dumbass vaccine. Never have, never will. I'll take a bullet instead, please. But all that we expose, because that's what Jesus told us to do, have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, rather expose them. Don't turn a blind eye. Don't cherry pick what you see. And what happens if we hadn't? If we turned around and really exposed that? If we were prepared to take some hits, to have some discomfort, experience some loss. But we didn't do that. So we failed. But as far as I personally am concerned, and I speak on behalf of our moderators and our team, we have, as a channel, faithfully executed the role of a watchman. And we are still doing that by example, still. Hi there, Radioactive. God bless you. Thank you for your kindness. Scientism rules, not science. Absolutely. God did not want us living on top of each other. Can't remember the verses right before, but yeah, he wanted us spread out. He was trying to tell us all of that. We don't need to be literally living on each other. There's so much space, so much freedom. It's unreal. It really is when it comes down to it. All right. But I want to speak about what the Lord has to say around actually taking a stand for Jesus, not bending over for the beast. Stephen, all right, the first Christian martyr, died because he took a stand for Jesus. His death wasn't in vain. I believe his demeanor at the time of his departure planted an undeniable impression upon the mind and the heart of Saul of Tarsus, who would become the Apostle Paul. If we are going to be witnesses of the power of God's Spirit, we must be prepared to take a stand for Christ. The psalmist asks, "Who will rise up for me against the evildoers? Who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? An ungodly person shall not stand in the judgment. The foolish, boastful workers of iniquity shall not stand in God's sight." If we desire to stand tall for Jesus, we must stand firm in the liberty that his saving grace has provided. We must ever stand strong in his power, not in the wisdom of men. We must stand strong in the glorious gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, not allowing any additions or subtractions to the finished work of Christ. Taking a stand for Jesus will inevitably lead to persecution. In fact, persecution for righteousness' sake is one of the Beatitudes. Paul and many other early church saints stood in jeopardy every single solitary hour. We realize that our enemy is not flesh and blood, which is why we are given the armor of God in order to stand even while the enemy fires away. And we read that verse, don't we? Against principalities and powers. What does it also say? Rulers and authorities. We've covered that in the world government here, haven't we, with the WEF? It is this godly lifestyle that enables you and me to stand together for our faith. How precious to know that if I stand for Jesus now, when my race is completed, he will stand to welcome me home just as he did Stephen. And so let's take a bold stand for the Lord Jesus this week. Okay, there you go, guys. Larry Fink warns resistance to the WEF Black Rock means certain death. Well, in this case, resistance is not futile. God bless each and every one of you guys. Thank you for the pleasure of your company. We will be back again. Let me just double check. Yeah, we will be back again tomorrow for Friday, if we are still here, with more crazy loco end time news. God bless you.